गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. Dear friends, we have completed the 31st shloka of 10th Adhyaya. 10th Adhyaya, as we know, it is dealing with various types of upasanas, various types of manifestations of the Supreme, and all these powerful, magnificent manifestations are mentioned here. Not all, some of them. As Krishna says, I can't mention all of them. I will, for just a sample, I will mention a few. So that is what he says. So he has mentioned a few of them. So in the last class also we heard the story of Prahlada. We saw the story of Vainateya, that is Garutman. We also saw Rama, Lord Rama. Then Janhavi, that is Ganges, the river Ganges. So up to that we have studied. I think we have just read the shloka, or have we read the Bhashyam also? 31st?
Yes, completed.
Bhashyam also is completed?
Yes.
Okay. Bhashyam, of course, there is nothing much here. Srotasam, Sravantinam, Asmi Janhavi, Ganga. Up to that point we read. So we have to read the 32nd shloka. Let us read the shloka. Sarganam adirantascha Madhyam Chaivahamarjuna Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam Vadah Pravadatamaham. So among all categories, I am the best. So that is the basic point here. Sarganam Adihi Antascha Madhyamcha Eva Aham Arjuna. The first line is Sarganam, of all the cycles of creation. We know that in our system, the creation is not a sort of one-time affair. Creation, it goes on in different cycles. There are so many cycles of, say, creation. So that is why even in our everyday mantra, everyday, say, Sandhya Vandan, when we say, Vaivasvatamanvantare, Kali Yuge, Prathamapade, etc., etc., we say. So that is, this Vaivasvatamanvantaram is one particular sarga. Prior to this, there was another Manvantaram. Prior to that, there was another Manvantaram. So like that, there are cycles, different cycles of so many cycles of creation. So the cycle of creation also we saw what is meant by cycle of creation. In the 8th Adhyaya, say whatever is the night for Prajapati, that is Srushtikarta Hiranyagarbha, that is the dissolution, that is the end of this, that is the Pralaya. And whatever is the day, that is the Srushti. So that is what we have seen in that 8th Adhyaya also. So like that day and night of that Srushtikarta, the Srushti and Srushti Sthiti Laya, they take place accordingly. So there are various cycles. And for all those cycles, I am that Adi Antaha Madhyamcha. Sarganam, of all the sargas, I am the Adi, I am the middle, and I am the Anta. What does it mean? So that means I am beyond that, I transcend that, I am there prior to the sarga, I am there during the sarga, I am there after the sarga. So that is what it means. I am there in the beginning, in the middle, and the end. What does it mean? I have been there all through. So even in a meeting or something like that, if you are there in the middle, beginning, and also in the end, it means that you have been all through. So like that, this is something, this tattva is something which transcends time, which is beyond that time, beyond that sarga. So Sarganam Adihi Antascha, Anta means end, Madhyamcha, Madhyam is that middle, Cha Eva Aham Arjuna, hey Arjuna. So then Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam. Vidyanam. So traditionally they talk about certain Vidyas. Vidya means a branch of education, a branch of knowledge, a branch of study. So in our tradition there are Chaturdasha Vidyas, there are about 14 Vidyas. Like say all the 4 Vedas, 4, then 6 Veda Angas, that is Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Niruktam, Jyotisham, Kalpam, etc. There are 6 Angas. Then 3 or 4 other things like logic and things like that. There is, no, not logic, Smruti, Itihasa, Purana. So those things all put together, there are 14 branches of knowledge. In all these 14 branches of knowledge, I am that Adhyatma Vidya. Adhyatma, we know this word Adhyatma very well. Adhyatma is Atmani iti Adhyatmam. Something to do with your own self. All other branches of knowledge, they examine the external world. In fact, yesterday only we discussed it in the Kenopanishad class. Kenopanishad, we saw that Adhyatma Vidya is something which observes the observer. In all other sciences, for example, all the physical sciences, man, he is static. He takes himself for granted, the human being, the observer. Man means the observer, let us say. He takes himself for granted, he takes his senses and then he takes his mind for granted and then he starts analyzing the external universe. Whereas Adhyatma Vidya is the only Vidya, that is, Adhyatma is knowledge of the self. That is the only Vidya where you are observing yourself. You are trying to understand what are the limitations, what are the scope, what is the scope and limitations of my own senses, what is the scope and limitations of my own mind. So that is what we examine. And that is what we saw in that Dakshinamurti Stotram also. Long ago I told that poem also. Nana Chidra Ghatodara Sthita Mahadeepa Prabha Bhaswaram. Say this knowledge is compared to a very luminous lamp, a highly luminous lamp which is there, over which you have put a sort of pot, you have put an inverted pot. And then there are some holes. There are some holes in that pot, and through these holes some rays of light are coming out. And once these rays of light are coming out, you think, oh, this is what is knowledge. This is what is knowledge. All through these rays of light, you are able to see some flicker here and there. And then you are seeing, you feel that you are knowing everything. So that is that shloka means, Nana Chidra Ghatodara Sthita. There is a pot which is having several holes. And in that udara of that pot, that in that underneath that pot, there is a bright light. Mahadeepa Prabha Bhaswaram. Jnanam yasyatu chakshuradi karanadvara bahispandate. This eye, ear, nose, etc., they are like these holes. If you imagine a pot with holes, this head is a pot with some holes. And through these holes, some certain information is going in. My eye sees a particular bandwidth of light. Ears again listen to a particular bandwidth of sound. Similarly, sense of touch, sense of taste, everything, a particular limitation is there. There is a higher limit, there is a lower limit, and beyond that you cannot know. So, all with this little knowledge which we derive, you feel that you know everything. You are able to see the whole, analyze the whole universe. So, Adhyatma Vidya is one which analyzes the possibilities and limitations of your own, say, analytical tools. Whatever analytical tools you are having, the possibilities and limitations of that is being examined in this Adhyatma Vidya. So that is why Adhyatma Vidya is supposed to be the most, say relevant, most sacred Vidya, because it is only when you know yourself that you will be able to understand your own predicament, your own plight, your own misery, your own happiness, and then get out of the bonds. Adhyatma Vidya is supposed to be great only because it is delivering you from all the bonds. It is delivering you from the bonds in the sense that it is enabling you to know that you are nothing but that supreme, say, consciousness only. Whatever consciousness that is there in that reflecting in your consciousness, it is the same as that supreme consciousness. You remove all other gross elements. Once you remove all the gross elements, you are of that Sat Chit Swarupa, Sat Chit and Ananda Swarupa. So that is that this Adhyatma Vidya only will enable a person to realize that. So that is why Adhyatma Vidya is something which will shake off all your bonds. So that is the reason why Adhyatma Vidya is supposed to be the Brahma itself. Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam, that is Lord Krishna himself is saying, I am that Adhyatma Vidya, because that is the most sacred thing. Sacred in the sense not that we have to do puja, etc. That is the most important thing. So that is the thing. Then Vada Pravadatam Aham. Vadaha Pravadatam Aham Vadaha. Aham I Pravadatam Prakashena Vadati. Prakashena Vadati. Vadati means talks. Vada dhatu, it means talks. Prakarshena Vadati means talking, say, in a very profound manner. Talking all in a very, very profound manner. That is Pravadan. So a person who is talking in a very profound manner is Pravadan. Pravadatam is among the people who talk in a very, very profound manner, so among those people, I am, what is that? Vadaha. So suppose there is a discussion or an argument. So in any discussion, what do you expect? Suppose there is a discussion taking place. In that discussion, what do you expect? There is a very serious discussion on some issue. On that issue, what do we expect? We expect that all these people, they discuss the issue in a very dispassionate way, without any preconceived notions, without any prejudices, and then they put forth their ideas in a very honest way. And then if somebody has some other point of view, you listen to that man's point of view, you reconcile your views, and then you arrive at what is the best possible solution, or what is the truth. Suppose you are inquiring into something. When you are inquiring into the nature of something, then you have to know, you have to observe, you have to listen to what the other man has observed. Various other pramanas might be there. All those pramanas have to be taken into consideration. And then you listen to everybody, and then you arrive at truth, isn't it? So that is what is expected in a discussion. But then there are three types of arguments. So in Tarka is, Nyaya Shastra, it is otherwise called Tarka. Tarka, what you call logic, there are two words for that in Sanskrit. One is Nyaya and the other is Tarka. Both are one and the same. So in this Tarka Shastra or Nyaya Shastra, there are certain technical words used. So this Vada is one technical word for this sort of discussion. So whenever there is a discussion on a subject, this Vada is supposed to be very important. So what is this Vada? Vada is, you propose your point of view, you listen to the other man's point of view, and then arrive at the truth. Vadaha is, there is a small definition also for that. Paksha Pratipaksha Parigraha. You are having your own Paksha, your own point of view, and Pratipaksha Parigraha. You also accept the point of view of the other person. So you reconcile all that, and then you arrive at the truth. So that is what is Vada. Then why is he saying I am that Vada? There are some other points, there are some other ways of discussion also. There are three such types. The second type, or an inferior type, will be, I want to establish my own point of view, and then I just don't want to listen to the other people. So that is a second category. Vada is the first category. The second category is where I want to establish my own point of view, I don't want to listen to you. So that is the second, that is called Jalpa. Vada Jalpa. Jalpa, actually, that also is, Shankaracharya, he is mentioning that also. Vada Jalpa Vitanda, Vada Jalpa Vitandanam. Shankaracharya is mentioning that also. So Jalpa is that. Why? When that is, I want to establish my own point of view. By hook or crook, I will try to disprove it. I use all types of deceitful logical means. I use all logical fallacies and all deceitful means in order to disprove you. So that is what is Jalpa. Then there is another worst category, or the third worst category is what is called Vitanda. In Telugu also we use that word Vitandavadam. That fellow is doing all Vitandavadam. Vitandavadam is where you have absolutely no point of view. You have never thought about it. You have never analyzed anything. But then you want to demolish whatever everybody says. So that is the worst type of fellow you can have. So sometimes we come across such people also. A person might not be knowing anything, might not have thought about anything, but then he would, in a meeting, he would like to talk most, and then he would like to demolish the point of view of all people. So that is what is called Vitanda. That is Swapaksha Sthapana Hina Vijigishu Katha. That is, he still wants to win without any sort of Swapaksha. He has no argument to put forth on his own. But then he wants to demolish everybody. So that is the worst form. So Lord Krishna says all those things are really to be rejected. Whatever is required in a discussion is this ability to arrive at the truth by honest discussion. What we call something like brainstorming, as we call nowadays. So this sort of thing, this is the most important thing in arriving at truth. In fact, in our Indian tradition also, there was what used to be called Shastra Sabha. Have you heard this word? Shastra Sabha. Even today, all these Shastra Sabhas take place. All these Shastra Sabhas take place in several places, particularly in Pithas, various Pithams like Srungeri, Kanchi and all these Pithams. These Shastra Sabhas take place, where frequently on some important occasions, on some important festivals, they call various Shastra Pandits. All these the Shastra Pandits, they go there and then they sit and then all the discussions they take place in Sanskrit only. Even here in Hyderabad, some people they do organize these Shastra Sabhas once in a way, say once in 6 months or so. Some people they do organize the Shastra Sabhas. So in these Shastra Sabhas, these scholars they do come. Suppose somebody in Nyaya Shastra, somebody in Advaita Vedanta, somebody in Dvaita Vedanta, somebody in some other field. So all these people, somebody in Vyakarana, somebody in Mimamsa. So all these people they come and then they deliberate on certain issues. Of course, they may not deliberate on any new issues. They will be just deliberating on the same old deliberated issues. The one very say regrettable thing in our type of learning is we have been just preserving what is there, what has been handed over to us over generations by our sages, but then we are not adding anything new. You see, when knowledge is there handed over by somebody, it should be constantly supplemented by new ideas also. Unfortunately, we are not doing that. We are not doing that, and then we are just stopping with that. We are not analyzing the new ideas. We have to analyze the new ideas also and then put them to test, and whatever is acceptable has to be accepted. So such things, of course, unfortunately we are not doing, but anyway, we will not go into that. So among all the forms of discussion, I am that Vada. So that is what is the shloka. Is the shloka clear? Sarganam, among all these cycles, I am the Adi, Anta, etc. Then Adhyatma Vidya, Vidyanam. Let us see the Bhashyam. Sarganam, Srushtinam, Adihi, Antascha, Madhyam Chaiva Aham, Utpatti Sthiti Layaha Aham Arjuna. Okay, this is also very simple. I am that Utpatti. Utpatti means Srushti. Sthiti means when it is in when it is existing. So Srushti is creation, existence, and then resolution back into its source. So these three stages are there. One is creation, existence, and resolution. So all these three are I am. Then Bhutanam Jivadhishthitana eva Adihi Antascha Ityadi Uktam Upakrame. Ihatu Sargasyaiva Sargamatrasya iti Visheshaha. So he says Jivadhishtatana. Earlier also there was one sentence which said I am the beginning, middle, end, etc. There was some such line. Where is that? Japayagnyosmi Gandharvanam Siddharasa Vasunam. So Aham Adishcha Madhyam Cha. Yeah, here it is, 20th shloka. If you see that 20th shloka, Aham Adishcha Madhyam Cha Bhutanam Antayeva Cha. So he told there about Bhutanam, about the created beings. About the created beings, I am the beginning, middle, and the end. That is taking them individually. Taking them individually, I am the beginning, middle, and end. So Aham Adishcha Bhutanam Madhyam Cha. So that is what was said. But here it is not the case of individual beings. It is the case of the whole Sarga itself. It is the case of the whole creation itself. There are so many cycles of creation. Not only this cycle of creation is starting, this cycle of creation is existing for some time, this cycle of creation is ending after some time. So again there is another cycle of creation. So the difference pointed out by Shankaracharya is that earlier Bhutanam Jivadhishthitana eva. That is Jiva Adhishthitana eva. Jiva is Pranadharane. That is those living beings. If you take the case of individual living beings, it was told about the Adihi Antascha iti. It was told Upakrame. Upakrame means in the beginning. Upakrama is beginning. Upasamhara is end. In the beginning what was told was slightly different. Here it is slightly different. Ihatu, but here in this particular case, Sarvasyaiva Sargamatrasya iti Visheshaha. It is referring to the whole Sarga. The Sarga as a whole. That is the beginning of the Sarga, the middle of the Sarga's beginning, middle, and also end. Then creation of another Sarga, I am beyond all these things. So that is what it says. Then Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam Moksharthatvat
मोक्षार्थत्वात्
pradhanam asmi.
प्रधानमस्मि.
So Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam, because moksharthatvat, because this moksha is the objective there. Moksha is the artham. Artha is moksha plus artha, mokshartha. That is, artha means the attainment. Arthyate iti arthaha. Arthyate, prarthyate. Pra plus arthyate, prarthyate. Arthyate means that which is sought for and that which is attained. Arthyate, that is sought for and attained, is what is called arthaha. Moksharthaha. This is moksha is the attainment here. Moksharthatvat pradhanam asmi. I am important because this is leading you to liberation. This is leading you to all bandha cheda. That is shaking off all the bonds or cutting off all the bonds. So that is the meaning. Then vadaha artha nirnaya hetutvat pravadatam pradhanam ataha soham asmi. So okay, vadaha artha nirnaya hetutvat. Artha, because what is the reason why vada is important? Artha nirnaya hetutvat. This is the strategy in order to decide or arrive at the actual artha or arrive at the actual truth. So that is the meaning. Vadaha artha nirnaya hetutvat. Artha nirnaya hetutvat, you follow the word? Hetu is reason. Because vada is the reason or the cause or strategy for deciding the actual meaning in an actual truth in during the course of a discussion. So that is the meaning. Hetutvat pravadatam. Pravadatam is among all the people who are talking very, very profoundly. Then pradhanam ataha soham asmi. Because I am that important thing. Saha aham asmi. I am that vada. Then pravaktrudvarena vadana bhedanameva vada jalpa vitandanam iha grahanam pravadatam iti. So why the word pravadatam is used? Pravadatam, prakarshena vadatam. You and I are not pravadan. We are talking normally. But then a very highly scholastic man, he will talk in a very, very profound manner. He will try to put forth his arguments in very, very profound manner. So all the such, for those people, they are the people, pravaktrudvarena, pravakta. Pravakta is again pravadan only. Pravakta means prakarshena vadati, iti pravakta. Prakarshena, pravakta, usually we refer to the word to refer to a prophet. Pravakta we say. Pravakta, we usually use that word to refer to a prophet, isn't it? But pravakta means somebody who tells anything great. Anything great, if somebody speaks, he is called a pravakta. Prakarshena vadati. So pravaktrudvarena vadana bhedanameva. Vadana bhedam means different styles of speaking. Vadana bhedam, different styles of speaking. What are the different methods of speaking? What are they? Vada jalpa vitandanam iha grahanam. Here, these three things are taken here. Iha, here. Iha grahanam means here these three things are taken here. What are they? Vada, jalpa and vitanda. These three words I explained to you. Vada I explained. Vada is arriving at the truth. Jalpa is establishing my own argument. Vitanda is demolishing others' arguments without me having any argument on my own. So Vada Jalpa Vitandanam Ihagrahanam Pravadatam iti. So have you followed this?
Yes.
Pravadatam. The word why this Pravadatam is used is these pravaktas or the highly scholastic people, they use all this say Pravada, Jalpa, Vitanda in order to during the course of discussion. So that is why that word is referred here. Then next shloka. Aksharanamakaroऽस्मि द्वन्द्वस्सामासिकस्य च अहमेवाक्षयः कालो धाताहं विश्वतो मुखः. So here again there are four things which are told. Three things. That is, Aksharanam Akaraha Asmi. Among all these letters, Aksharam we know. Aksharam means, Aksharam we also refer to Supreme Brahman. When we refer to that Supreme Brahman, the definition is, the derivation is, Naksharati iti Aksharam. It does not perish. Even here, of course, in a smaller sense, in a lower sense, nat sharati iti aksharam, because there are certain basic sounds in any language. All languages are having all this alphabet. This alphabet we know. Different languages have different, say, number in that alphabet. For example, English 26 or 27? 26. Okay. In Sanskrit there are 50. In Tamil there are around 25, so something around that. In Hindi 50 plus. Telugu around 56. So like that we have got so many letters in so many languages. So all these letters, these are again the basic formations. Suppose I say ka. So that particular ka is something which is produced be in a particular form from the say all these vocal all these organs of say these vocal organs, let us say. So this when I say ka, the sound while the air is coming out, that air is stopped at a particular point, and then that word ka, that sound ka comes. If I say ha, I am not stopping that air anywhere, but then so that is coming in a way ha. If I say a is there, a and ha are very similar, but in that ha there is aspiration, there is more air which is pumped in. So like that there are different ways of saying, but then all these things are different, and there is a distinct, they have got their own distinct identity. So that is why they are called akshara, not sharati. They don't perish, they are supposed to be the basic sounds. So in Sanskrit alphabet, we know in all languages also there are what are called vowels and what are called consonants. We know that. Vowels are there which give some shape to the consonants. So that is what we see normally. Suppose we say, if you take the consonants in Sanskrit, ka, kha, ga, gha, nga, cha, cha, ja, ja, nya, ta, tha, da, dha, na, these are the consonants. So what is the basic thing in these things? Ka is a sound, kha is another sound, cha, ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. So these are certain sounds. So in all these things, they are totally distinct. Each is very, very distinctly recognizable from the other. So that these are the things. And in all these things, that akara is there. Ka, kha, ga, gha, nga, k plus a. Similarly, g plus a, t plus a, ta, th plus a, tha, d plus a, dha, da, d, a, dha. So like that in all these things, this a is pervading in all these things. That is one uniqueness which you see. In all these letters, you have this akara which is pervading there. So this akara is something which is vyapi, which is pervading in all these letters. This is true only to Sanskrit language only. Sanskrit and all Indian languages, of course. Sanskrit and all Indian languages, whether it is Tamil or whether it is Kannada or whether it is Telugu, all these vowels and all these consonants, not vowels. Vowels can be different, because in vowels there is what is called e, u, a, I, o, au, all these things are there. So naturally they are different. So with these consonants, if we take all the consonants, they are ending with a, k plus a, h plus a, r plus a, ra, e plus ra, ya, ra, la, va, all those things ending with a only. So this is akaranta only. All the letters end with are all akaranta only. So that is one point which we see. Aksharanam akarosmi. In all these aksharas, in all these imperishable letters, I am the akara. Of course, in other languages it can be different. For example, in English, if you say a, it does not say a, though this letter a actually signifies a, it is pronounced as a. Suddenly this bakara has come, this ba sound ba has come in the shape of b. You call it b. Then you call it C, other word is call it C. That C sometimes is pronounced as a sa, sometimes pronounced as ka. Like in cat, it can be C's, it can be a cat. So something like that. So similarly, da, it has come in the shape of D. So there is no say pattern in the English alphabet. There is no pattern if you see in the English alphabet. It has come in, it is randomly, it is say structured. Not structured, it is randomly put forth. But whereas in Sanskrit language, all these things is in a very, very structured manner. So all this, I think recently, I saw one book recently, one British writer has written a very wonderful history of language. So the book's name is Empires of the World. I think I referred to this also once or twice. Empires of the World, a language history of mankind, a language history of the world, a language history of the world. In that book, he has devoted about 60 pages to describe the, say, uniqueness and grandeur of Sanskrit language. About 60 pages he has written. There, he has also referred to this structure of this alphabet, Sanskrit alphabet, how scientific it is, and how it has been taken by various other countries, all the Southeast Asian countries and all that, how this structure has gone into this, including Japan and some other Southeast Asian countries. So he has described in a beautiful way. So anyway, coming back to this, akara aksharanam akaraha asmi, then dvandvaha samasikasya cha. Samasikasya cha. This again, there are two meanings given here by commentators. Samasa, do you know what is samasa in Sanskrit? Samasa. Suppose Parvati Parameshwarau, let us say. This Parvati and Parameshwara are represented in one word called Parvati Parameshwarau. Then, for example, I say somebody is Pitambaraha. Pitambaraha is one samasa. Pitam, Ambaram. These two words, they come together and then they form the word called Pitambara. Two words, two or many. There can be many words also. The two or many words coming together to form one single word is called samasa. Samasanam is coming together. Samasanam. That is a compound word. So these compound words are very, very frequent in Sanskrit. Because and this compound word behaves like a single word only. Pitambaraha. So that Pitambaraha, when I say Pitambara, it is a particular samasa. When I say Rama Lakshmanau, it is a particular samasa. When I say, for example, some other thing, Raja Purusha, it is a particular samasa. So I can very, very briefly I will explain, because you can know the meanings, at least what are the different types of compounds in Sanskrit language. That is also a small little bit of Sanskrit class. So suppose I say Ragadveshau. Indriyasyarthe ragadvesha vyavasthita. We hear about these dvandvas. All the while we hear about dvandvas in Gita. Ragadvesha, Sukha Dukkha, Ragadvesha. Raga and Dvesha put together they form one word, Ragadvesha. Sukha and Dukkha put together they call Sukha Dukkha. This is called Dvandva Samasa, where both the things are equally important. Both words are equally important. Raga and Dvesha are equally important. Suppose there is another type of word, Pitambara. I just now mentioned Pitambara. That red shirt. Suppose I say that yellow shirt, let us say. Yellow shirt or green shirt, let us say. So green shirt means it does not refer either to green or to shirt, but it refers to a person who is wearing that green shirt. So in English also some usages have come like that, but it is not so frequent. That say what is this? Some red head or red shirts or some such words seem to have come, but then that is supposed to be colloquial. But in Sanskrit it is very, very chaste Sanskrit only. So Pitambara, when I say Pitam Ambaram Yasya Saha, both the words are unimportant. Somebody else is important. The person wearing the shirt is important, and these two words are not at all important. So that is what is called Bahurihi. Then there is, suppose I say Neelakantha. Neelakantha, someone whose neck is it is blue, because Neelakantha, Lord Shiva, he swallows that poison. When he swallows that poison, he doesn't send it inside, he keeps it here only, he balances it here only. So that is why his neck becomes blue or dark rather. So Neelakantha. So in that Neelakantha, the person who is having that Neelakantha, the second word becomes important. So that is what is called Uttarapada Pradhanyam. So like that, say whether there can be importance to Purvapada, there can be importance to Uttarapada, there can be importance to somebody else totally outside, there can be importance to both the words. So among these samasas, I am this dvandva. So he says. So for exact reason is not mentioned by any commentator. So maybe because both things are important. But then there is another meaning given to this word dvandva by Nilakantha Acharya. Nilakantha says, say when two persons are there, suppose you are discussing something, you have to discuss some very, very important thing. If you have to discuss a very, very important thing, only when two people are there, then that secret will be properly preserved. If a third person is there, secret may or may not be preserved. The rule is it will not be preserved. If only two people know the truth, the secret will be preserved. If three people are there, Shatkarnam Bhidyate Mantraha. There is a saying also in Chanakya Niti. There is one saying which says, Shatkarno Bhidyate Mantraha. Mantraha means, mantra means something, mantra alochana. Mantra is something which is discussed in secret. So that is all. There are two meanings for mantra. Mantra is what we use in the puja, etc. That mantra is different. Here, mantra is something which is discussed in a very, very secret manner. Shatkarnam Vidyate Mantra. Shatkarnam means if it falls into 6 years. So only 4 years should hear. 4 years means only two persons. Shatkarnam, that means third person means 2 more years. So which means the secret is out. So that is what Chanakya Niti says. So like that, in this Samasika, I will just read out the sentence also. Samasikam. Samam ekatra asanam samasaha vidusham va guru shishyanam va mantrartha kathanartham va ekatra avasthanam. So two or more people coming together in order to discuss an important thing is what is called samasa. So that is what Nilakantha writes. Nilakantha is again a very eminent commentator on the entire Bharatam. Other people have commented only on the Gita portion. Even including Shankaracharya has commented only on two or three portions of this entire Gita. Mahabharatam. He has commented on Sanat Sujatiya in the whole Mahabharata, which consists of 100,000 verses. Shankaracharya has commented on Gita, number 1. Number 2, there is what is called Sanat Sujatiyam. There is again another discussion, say in Gita, in Mahabharatam. There is another discussion called Vishnu Sahasranama. Vishnu Sahasranama, the 1,000 names of Vishnu, where all these names, the philosophical significance of all these names, it is discussed by Shankaracharya. So these three portions only have been commented by Shankaracharya, whereas Nilakantha is one who has commented on the whole Mahabharata. They say the entire, starting from beginning to end, he has commented. So that is why he is having a very total perspective of the whole Mahabharata. So he says this samasa is the coming together of two or more persons for discussing an important thing. In that dvandvaha, in that tesham madhye dvandvaha rahasyortho aham. Rahasyorthaha, that is, if only two people are discussing, then the rahasyam or secret is properly kept. If one more fellow comes, then secret is not a secret, no longer a secret. So there is also in English also there is a saying, a secret between the three is everybody's secret or something like that. A secret among three is everybody's secret. So something like that. So dvandvaha samasikasya cha. So these two are the meanings here. Then ahameva akshayaha kalaha. Akshayaha kalaha. Kalam we know. Kalam means time. Time means again, we know in Vedanta, throughout, so we have come up to the 10th chapter now. In earlier chapters we have seen that kalam is something which is a product of Maya. Maya means not something illusion or anything. Maya means Prakriti. Kalam is a product of this Prakriti or Maya in the sense that in the Supreme Brahman or in the Supreme Consciousness, there is no calculation of time. So in that Supreme Consciousness, only this manifestation called Maya is there. And in that Maya, there is what is called a manifestation of Akasha, Vayu, etc., etc., etc. And in that process, the human being has evolved. And because of some events or at least manifesting, I have taken place or manifesting in this Maya, this time itself is a concoction which is there. It is a concept which is a concoction in the purview or in the realm of Maya. So that is what we have seen in, in the earlier chapters. Earlier chapters, whenever the word kalam has come, that is what we have seen. And also in the Upanishad Bhashyas also. So there is what is called, all this kala is something which is limited. Isn't it? When we say kala, kala itself is a manifestation within the realm of that Maya. Then here he says, ahameva akshayah kalaha. Then this kala, whatever kala is kshayam. Whatever kalam which we are seeing is kshayam. Kshayam means that which goes, that which will be today a particular thing is there, tomorrow it is not there. So like that, this kalam again is kshayam. If for example one srushti is there, during that srushti kalam is there, again that srushti pralaya is there is no kalam. Because when there is srushti only there is kalam, isn't it? When there is no srushti, there is no such thing as time. Only when there is creation, there is what is called time. When there is no creation, when there is total resolution, there is no time. So there is some entity which is beyond all these creation, cycles of creation and all that. That is what we saw in the earlier shloka also. Something which is beyond all the cycles of creation. So that is what is called Akshayah Kalaha. I am that Akshayah Kalaha. Referring to the entity which is beyond all these cycles of creation. Then Dhata Aham Vishwato Mukhaha. Dhata means that I am the base, I am the support for all the things. Dha, the root Dha in Sanskrit means to bear, to sustain. Dharanat dharma uchyate. We know that word also. Dharanat, that which holds, that which bears, that which sustains, that forms the substratum, that becomes the very locus, that becomes the very support for all the things. So that is, I am that. Dhata aham Vishwato Mukhaha. Vishwataha Mukhaha. Vishwato Mukhaha means that is all around. Vishwato Mukhaha literally means all around. That is all pervasive. That is why sometimes when we represent gods, say for example for Brahma, you give 4 faces. What is the meaning of 4 faces? That is Vishwato Mukha. The meaning of 4 faces is 4 sides looking for. It doesn't mean that some chap is sitting here and then on this one particular trunk of the human body there are 4 heads, say looking in 4 different directions. 4 different directions means Vishwato Mukha, Sarvato Mukha. We use the words Sarvato Mukham, Vishwato Mukham. Even in mantras we use these words. Then sometimes Panchamukha Anjaneya Swami. Somebody says Panchamukha, why not up? So like that, these are all visualizations. All these Chaturmukha, Panchamukha, etc. are visualizations basically to symbolize that this is something which, this is a particular entity who knows everything. Brahma means he is the originator of the Vedas. Brahma is said to be the person through whom the Vedas seem to have come. So such a person should be all-knowing. So all-knowing means you should be able to see in all directions. So just to symbolize that, so 4 heads are given. So like that, Vishwato Mukha is something like that. Vishwato Mukha means that I am that all-knowing, say Dhata, I am the supporter. Karma Phala Data is another meaning which is given by Shankaracharya. Karma Phala Data, I am the person who gives the Karma Phala. So that divine system in which every person gets his due. So that is the point. Every person gets his due. That particular system is that Karma Phalam. So let us see the Bhashyam. Is the shloka clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Aksharanam Varnanam Akaraha Varnaha Asmi.
Varnanam Akaraha Varnaha Asmi.
So this Akshara is also called Varna. This Akshara A, I, I, U. Then again Ka, Kha, Ga, Kha, Nga, they are also called Aksharas, they are also called Varna. Then Varnyate iti Varnyaha. Varnyate iti Varnyaha means by that you are able to describe something. That by which you are able to describe something is a Varna. So that is it. Then among these Aksharas, Akaraha Varnaha Asmi. I am that Akara. Dvandvaha Samasaha Asmi. Samasikasya Samasa Samohasya. So Shankaracharya is taking only one meaning, that is Samasa Samoha. there are different types of samasas. I think six types of samasas are there in Sanskrit literature. So among all those things, I am this Dvandva samasa, which gives importance to all the words, whatever. There need not be only two. Dvandva, there is what is called Bahupada Dvandva also. Bahupada Dvandva means there can be four things also. Suppose there are Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna. There are four brothers. All the four brothers can be mentioned in that. So all the four words come together. So not necessarily two. It can be many also with equal importance. So that is why it is called Dvandva. So Dvandvaha samasosmi samasikasya. Samasikam, the meaning of Samasikam, Shankaracharya is taking it as Samasa Samuham. The group of samasas is called Samasikam. So that is how Shankaracharya is saying. Nilakanta has given a slightly different meaning, which I just now read. Samasikam means an assemblage of people. That is what he says. Here Samasikam means assemblage of words among the samasas, different types of samasas. Then kincha ahameva akshayaha akshinaha kalaha.
Ahameva akshayaha akshinaha kalaha.
Kalaha prasiddhaha kshanalavakhyaha.
Kalaha prasiddhaha
kshanalavakhyaha. Kshanam, lavam. We say kshanam means a moment. Lava again means another very fraction of a moment. Kshana, lava, all these words we use in order to describe kalam, isn't it? Kalam, when mentioned, we say nimesha. You say a few nimeshas become a kshana. Then lavam. Lavam is again a fraction of that thing. So various words are used in order to describe this kalam. And all this kalam is kshinaha. The nature of kala is kshina only. That which is there now and which will not be there after some time. But then I am that kincha, moreover, ahameva akshayaha akshinaha kalaha. Akshinaha. That which does not perish means that which is beyond all these cycles of creation. So many cycles of creation may come and go, but then that entity is always there. Then prasiddhaha kshanalavakhyaha. This kshana, lava, etc., they are all well known measures of time. So that is what he says. Then athava parameshwaraha kalasyapi kalosmi. So I am the kala for that kala. So kala means time. I am the timekeeper for that timekeeper also. So that means I watch its arising and destruction. I watch its coming into being and its destruction. So that is when there is a srushti, here of course he is talking from the human point of view. From the Supreme Being's point of view, there is no such thing as this. But then sometimes the Shruti also talks from the point of view of Vyavahara. From the point of view of Vyavahara means from transactional point of view, from a human point of view. So here we have to take it as a human point of view. Because from the Supreme point of view, there is no such thing as Kala. So from our point of view, there is a creation. Creation means there is a Kalam, concept of time. So which means that when there are cycles of creation, and then when there is something supreme beyond that, he can be taken as the kalam. He is the timekeeper for this particular limited time, isn't it? In one particular creation, suppose you have one particular time span, but in all these cycles of creation, there is a huge time span. For all these things, he is the witness. He is the witness of the whole thing. So from human point of view, we are describing here. So that is the point. Kalasyapi kalosmi. Parameshwaraha kalasyapi kalaha. I am that kala for this particular limited time. Akshinaha kalaha for this kshina kala. Akshina kala on one side and kshina kala, you can imagine. Then dhataham karma phalasya vidhata sarva jagataha vishwato mukhaha. So sarva jagataha, for the whole universe, vishwato mukhaha, that is knowing everything that is happening everywhere, because unless you know what is happening everywhere, how can you be the dispenser of justice? When you have to dispense justice and give each man according to the due, you should be able to know what all is happening at all places. So which it does not mean that there is somebody, some superhuman, super intelligent being who is watching everything, etc., etc. It means that this karma is having that innate ability to produce that particular result. Every karma is, there is a built-in structure that is by which it gives a particular result. Whether you like it or not, that karma phalam will definitely come. So that structure is in this, the Prakriti itself. And this Prakriti is a manifestation in that Supreme Being. So from that point of view, he can be indirectly called the Karma Phala Data. Though he doesn't sit like sit there as we see in some films. So we see in some films, so somebody, God sitting and then weighing everything. So not God, of course there we see Yamadharmaraja. So there is no concept of somebody sitting there and then weighing all this, your positive and negative, say behavioral, say all your behavior and all that, your punyam and papam weighing and then all that. This is in a metaphorical way, in a rather figurative way, it is told that he is the karma phala data. Dhataham vishvatah sarva jagatah vishvatomukhaha. Then let us go to, is it okay?
Yes.
Then let us see the next shloka. Mrutyus sarvaharaschaham
Mrutyus sarvaharaschaham
udbhavascha bhavishyatam
udbhavascha bhavishyataam
kirtishrirvakcha narinam
kirtishrirvakchanarinaam
smrutirmedha dhrutishchama.
smrutirmedha dhrutikshama.
Okay. Here again, many things are told here. Mrutyuhu sarvaharaha cha aham. Udbhavascha bhavishyatam. So in the first line there are two things told. Sarvaharaha mrutyuhu. Mrutyu, the concept of mrutyu. That is, mrutyu means death. Death is something which takes away everything. Death, the destroyer of all. Death is something which takes away everything. A person may be a great king, he may be a mighty emperor, but then once the fellow dies, his empire is gone from him. Empire will be there, of course. Empire is gone from him, that's all. So he thinks that it is my empire, it is my thing, my, all those my things are gone the moment the fellow dies. So that is how Mrutyuhu is called Sarvaharaha. Sarvaharaha, not only bad, it takes away the good, not only the good, it takes away the bad also. Suppose somebody is a miserable man, so all this misery also goes with his death. So all the misery, happiness, everything goes, sukha, dukkha, everything disappears with mrutyu. So that mrutyu, that manifestation is a very great manifestation of the divine. So that is what he says. Mrutyuhu sarvaharaschaham. Then udbhavascha bhavishyatam. Udbhavaha means the prosperity, udbhava. Plenty, prosperity, bhavishyatam, of all the things which are going to come. I am the plenty. I am the plenty of all the things which are going to come. Then kirtihi, shrihi, vakcha, narinam, smrutihi, medha, dhrutihi, kshama. There are so many qualities which have been mentioned here. So all these things, they are in Strilinga. Strilinga means in feminine gender. If you see all these things, they are in feminine gender. Kirti is in feminine gender. Shrihi is in feminine gender. Vak, then Smrutihi, Medha, Dhruti, Shama, all these things. So all these things, there is a small story that all these people, all these things which are mentioned in this Strilinga or feminine gender, they are personified and then shown as daughters of a particular person. There is a story which I have not noted here. I should have brought that story also. Anyway, that's not very relevant. So all these things, say they are say mentioned as the daughters of one particular person, and then Kirti, somebody marries this Kirti. So suppose you have married Kirti. It means that you are a person who is having Kirti. Suppose Shrihi means Lakshmi. Lakshmi, who is the person who has married Lakshmi? Vishnu is the person who has married Lakshmi. So maybe this story also I will pick up in the next class, and I will get back again. I will get back again with that story also. So Shrihi is the Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the husband of, Lakshmi is the wife of that Vishnu. Then Vak means Saraswati. Saraswati is the wife of Brahma, because Brahma is the creator, isn't it? Brahma is the creator. For that creator, he should be all-knowing. A person who is only all-knowing can be the creator. So that is why Vak or Saraswati is supposed to be the wife of that Brahma. Then, this Narinam, here this particular line says, among the women, Kirti, Shri, Vak, Smruti, Medha, Dhruti, Shama, I am these people. So Narinam, it is also referring to so many women, groups of women. I am these things, because all these things are personified as the daughters of a particular sage. I will just check up that story also. So all these things. Then Smruti is memory. Great capacity for recalling all these say adhyayana. You have studied all the Vedas and you are able to recall all those Vedas. That is what is Smruti. Then Medha again is intelligence, analytical power. Then Dhruti means firmness in character. Dhruti, resoluteness, firmness in character. So that is what is Dhruti. Then Shama means, normally we use the word in a wrong sense. Shama means excusing everything. It is not excusing everything. It is the ability to bear, forbearance. It is the ability to be, it is unperturbed nature. Forbearance, unperturbed nature. So that is what is Shama. Generally we use it as excusing everything. Shama karo, you excuse it. So we use it in a rather loose way. So all these things, they are all great qualities which are supposed to be husbanded by a human being. So all these great qualities which are in the Strilinga or in feminine gender, they are supposed to be husbanded by a human being. It may be a male or female. You are supposed to husband them. You are supposed to own them. You are supposed to master them. So that is the meaning. In fact, Anandagiri gives meanings of all these words also. Kirtihi dharmikatva nimitta khyatihi. So he says kirti. When do you get kirti? Kirti means fame. Kirti means fame. So you also come across some girls having this name Kirti. You also come across some women nowadays. All these names will be there. So Kirti is one very familiar girl's name. Name of a girl. Kirti is dharmika nimitta khyatihi. The fame which is because of certain good deeds done by you. So that is what is Kirti. If you do bad deeds, of course, that is not called Kirti. It is ill fame. It is ill fame and not fame. Then Shrihi Lakshmihi. Shri is Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the wife of Vishnu. Then Kantihi Shobha. Kirti Shrir Vakcha Narinam. Okay, Vak, Vani Sarvasya Prakashika. Vani Sarvasya Prakashika means voice is the thing which is Sarvasya Prakashika means that is the basic communicating system which a human being has with the whole society. If Vak were not to be there, then the entire world would be, absolutely without any communication. Because of the Vak, you are able to communicate. So that is the thing here. Vak, Sarvasya Prakashika. Then Smrutihi, Chira Anubhuta Smarana Shaktihi, the capacity to recall. Smruti is that capacity to recall. Then Medha Grantha Dharana Shaktihi. Medha is that ability to analyze and then ability to understand all these various texts which you read, all various shastras you read, that ability to do that. Then Dhruti Dhairyam. Dhruti is, as I said, that is resoluteness, firmness of character. Then Shama Manapamana Yoho Avikruta Chittata. Avikruta Chittata, that is unperturbed thing in good or bad. You may have good or bad. You may have some happy times, you may have some tough times. In happy times or tough times, in happy times you should not get elated, in tough times you should not get depressed. So that is what is Shama. Shama means that ability, capacity to be, to have that equanimity in good, bad, every situation, and then be your own, be your own self, and then remain in a very unperturbed way. So that is that thing. Let us read the Bhashyam. Mrutyuhu is the time over? 1 minute. 1 minute means we will stop here and then we will see the Bhashyam in the next class. Next class, I think we will have a very long session on Gayatri, because Gayatri Chandasamaham. So there will be a fairly long discussion on what is Gayatri mantra and all that. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi.